Everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited for you to listen to this episode with Georgie Stevenson. I've been on her podcast 2 times, I think. Rise and Conquer, the link is below if you want to check it out. She is an Australian businesswoman and mum, and she's just extraordinary and absolutely killing it in the game. So I'm excited to have her on and talk to you guys about this amazing change, a change that she has gone through in her life with being a new mum and still being a wife and running a couple of businesses. So she's a lot going on. And I know that there are so many of you that need to listen to this episode, whether you are a mum or whether you want to be a mum. Even if you want to be a mum in the future, it is so important for you to start thinking about what that's going to look like, especially if you have a career or run a business and you want to continue doing that when you are a mom, because things need to shift, things need to change. And like, even for myself, I'm always thinking about that. Me and my man always mention that, have conversations and whatnot. And I ensure that it's at the forefront of the mind for the business and for my team members, of always thinking, right, how can we streamline this? How can we simplify this? Always thinking of ideas of allowing me to be a little bit more hands off so that when that time comes, it's not some big, stressful, quick, manic change. It's already been done and implemented well beforehand. And the business and the followers have adapted to that kind of new business structure, if that makes sense as well. So Georgie is absolutely amazing. And the conversation was really, really fantastic. It went in lots of different areas. And it was just authentic. It was deep. It was great. So whether you are a mum or whether you are not a mum, but you want to be a mum, you definitely should listen. I mean, Georgie has, gone through her own journey with falling pregnant, the pregnancy itself. And actually we started working together, she was one of my clients just when she fell pregnant. It was so funny. It was one of those miracle cases that one of those miracle moments where she had me on her podcast. She wanted me to be her coach. She signed up, kind of did the contract, whatever. And it was like, boom, she fell pregnant. And it was just like, so aligned, universe aligned. And it was beautiful to be able to support her in staying in her feminine and changing and adapting through this new season of her life, where she was really able to let go more and allow her partner to lead, allow her husband to take things off her plate. And it's been tremendous in this new season of life for her. So listen to the episode. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you tag Georgie and myself in it when you share on your Instagram stories so that we can both share it on our Instagram stories. And of course, if you haven't already left a review, I would really appreciate you leaving a review, as they go really far with helping people to find the podcast and know that the podcast will also be of benefit to them. Last thing I wanted to also mention is that if you're not following me on Instagram, please make sure that you do, because I am actually putting out some exciting little mini packages for one-on-ones that I know lots of you are going to be interested in. I haven't been able to do this for a long time because of time, but I have more time on my hands now, which is great. This is only going to be available for right now, because then it's going to be Christmas and I take time off over my birthday in January. So if you know you want to be able to snatch one of these up, make sure that you look at the details below, and I will shut up now and you guys can get into the episode. So nice to see you again.
Oh my gosh, I know it feels like forever, but so lovely. How are
I
you?
know. I'm really, really good. Just so much change and a lot's going on. I mean, last time we had a podcast, I was in New York, and now I don't live there anymore, which is crazy. But all good things. I mean, you are now a mum, which is the biggest transformation I think anyone can ever go through. So I'm so excited to chat to you about it and ask all the questions and just bring to light this whole, you're now a working mum and you're still running your own company, and, hopefully you're still in your feminine and, all that kind of stuff. So shall we jump straight in? Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Fabulous.
Also, big congratulations on your house.
Thank you. I know, I literally just announced it. We're closing I
saw
in 2
your
weeks.
Post. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Yeah,
and that's where you're now living, hey, which is where?
I'm living in Atlanta now, which is crazy. I didn't even know Atlanta. I didn't even know where it was until I met my boyfriend. And I never thought that I would leave New York for living in the South, but here we are. And it is such a change of pace, but it is so nice. You live by the beach, so you get it. Just to be able to be in nature, you don't realize how much you need that as a hardworking entrepreneur. I feel like I feel like out of anybody that needs nature, it's like hardworking entrepreneurs where it's like, how else do you disconnect except for like being in nature, and having that outside your back door is just amazing. So I'm really grateful for that now.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
made the exact same move when I moved from like Brisbane City to the Gold Coast, and I thought I was like through and through city gal. And then I moved to the Gold Coast, and I had so many people comment of just like my aura and everything, just everything felt so good to me and relaxing and grounding. And it was like, you know, the calm to my crazy.
Yes, no, amen. I didn't realize how stressed I was in New York, because you just like it becomes your normal, right? And I love it. Like I still love New York, but you do get used to it. And then living here, it's like, wait, I'm not like on like this cracky high all day. Like I'm not, it's really hard in New York because if you want to go for a walk to calm down, like you can't, like going for a walk is not a fucking calming experience in New York, but you've been in your apartment all day working. So you want to fucking leave the apartment. And I mean, that was one piece, but also I was getting so stressed out and fed up with like flying out of the New York airports. Flights are always canceled, like flights are always delayed because of the skyscrapers. And if there's like one fucking drop of water, like from this, like if it's one little bit of rain, pilots won't fly it because of like vision issues and like 9/11 and like all that stuff. And it's just so much like flight crap that I was like, I'm over this. Versus flying out of Atlanta, I'm like, the flights are never delayed, never canceled, because it's a hub for Delta. So it's just, even just the airport experience is just like so much better. So anyway, it's completely different living here. Okay, let's jump in. So Georgie, do you want to introduce yourself?
For you.
Thank you. Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody and kind of paint the picture of the business that you run and kind of what you do day to day?
Yeah, cool. So my name is Georgie Stevenson. I own 2 companies. So both missions are to empower women to live their most authentic and best life. So that's a little bit different in each. So the first company is Naked Harvest, which is an all natural supplements company. So, you know, we do pre-workouts, green powders, proteins, everything is natural, no refined sugars, gluten-free, dairy-free, all those things. And that really came from a place because I come from the fitness world, and I would walk into a supplement, store, and I just did not feel seen. Everything's like blue and lightning bolts and like 100 mega caffeine, and just not suited for a woman's body. So we really filled the gap of, hey, I'm a fitness galley who, you know, loves my fitness, but I don't want to be taking that much caffeine, or I don't want to be taking, you know, whey protein that messes with my gut. And I also want my supplements to look pretty on my bench. So we really filled the gap with bringing like a beautiful femme style and supplements that suited women. So that's one half of me. And then the other half is my female empowerment through my podcast, the Rise and Conquer podcast. And I also do like manifesting courses and that sort of thing, which was very much like a side hustle and like an outlet. But I'm in between both. I do a lot of things. Plus, I am a new mama. So I gave birth November last year to beautiful Ivy Sunday after a very long trying to conceive journey. And so I've spent the last 8 months exploring that. And I went back to work quite soon just because of, circumstances and my businesses, and because I wanted to. So I have been transitioning, exploring that. And yeah, that kind of sums it up.
I love it. It's perfect. Beautiful. All right. So let's jump straight in. What has it been like being a new mum and you really, really wanting to, I know that it was really important for you to be an amazing mum and a very hands-on mum to Ivy, whilst also still running 2 businesses and having a huge Instagram following and doing all those things as well?
Yeah. So you kind of touched on this at the start, Monica, but I did not realize the life transition. Like I feel like, you know, other life transitions, when you get engaged or you move in with your partner or you get married, like those kind of milestones, they're big, they're exciting, but I feel like not that much changes. It's like, you know, it's still the same relationship, still the same person, but the transition from me like giving birth and having another little human rely on you, just I very much call it like, it felt like once Ivy was born, it was like a death of my old self. And it truly is, isn't it? So such a big life transformation. And it's just, at the start, it was just so overwhelming. I think, you know, the hormones, the life change, Ivy was a very colicky baby. Okay. So she wasn't the happiest, and we had quite a few issues. And so it just went from one life to this very different extreme life. And it's like the most amazing bubble, and it's the most amazing experience, but it's definitely the most hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm someone who has created 2 7-figure businesses. I've done my law degree. Like, I love hard things. Like, give me a challenge all day, every day. But it's because it's something you can't control. And I'm, me, Monica, I am a control freak. I love being, in my masculine energy and doing. And this transition was very much needing me to surrender, to let go, to be in my femme energy. So yeah, huge life transition.
Wow, huge. So what was your expectation of what it was going to be like versus the actual reality then? Like, even little examples with just like juggling the work and then being a mum and also wanting to be an amazing wife and a friend all at the same time.
Yeah. So, and that's like the start was really hard because I think I just did not grasp what I was getting myself into. I just didn't know.
Baby, like, fuck it, it's going to be great.
And it's funny yeah, and it's really funny because I'm not maternal. I am someone who is not maternal at all. And it was honestly like my husband, we've been together since I was 17, and he would have had a baby 10 years ago. And he's the most loving father. He's amazing. I'm not as maternal, but it's so weird. I turned 26 and I just had this like burning desire to have a child. But yeah, so the expectation is just I don't know. I didn't know what I actually expected, but it's just so different. I think for me, the biggest changes was before is I could work when I wanted, how I wanted, all hours of the day. I probably didn't have boundaries. So I found it quite difficult because I was now like, when I went back to work, I started, 2 days a week, and then I went to 3 days, and I'm currently doing 4, but I had to be so intentional with my time. So it's like when I got to work, I've learned to work a lot more efficiently, and just putting in the boundaries of when I'm at home, I'm with Ivy, I'm with Tim, and when I'm at work, I'm at work. And that has been such a huge change. I think also the whole mothering part, I just, like I said, I didn't think I was that maternal, and it's not like Ivy was born and I just turned maternal and I became this natural mother. It's very much something I have learnt and grown, but we're 7 months down the track, and I do feel like I have just these instincts and I've kind of lent into them, and that's something I'm really surprised about. Hey, wait, what was the question?
Yeah, no, it is. I just asked, what was your expectation of doing all this versus what was the actual reality that you had to face? So you kind of did answer it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, okay, good.
We'll leave that.
baby
totally
brain,
fine.
Sure.
I mean, we could go on for ages about this topic, right? So, okay, so when you were saying then, Georgie, parts of you died, I feel like a lot of women will resist this change of season in their life. They feel like they are losing a part of themselves. They're losing their life rather than gaining so much of their life. It's kind of it's been really interesting. I've been seeing some things just floating around for maybe the past kind of year where motherhood can almost be talked down upon of all the things that you lose. And whilst that's a reality that I think we all need to talk about, I also am and obviously I'm only a mother to a dog, so I don't have the full grasp of this whole conversation, but I feel like from the clients that I work with, it's an understanding and an education piece of changing your mindset around all the things that you gain and the boundaries around like you still can have you time and X, Y, and Z. It's just about giving yourself permission to do all of those things. Like it's giving yourself permission to still run these businesses whilst you're all like doing it all, like giving yourself permission to do it all. So what do you feel like was the parts of you that you had to let go of and let die, quote unquote, in order for you to be like reborn into this newer, better, more expanded version of yourself?
Yeah, well, it's kind of just going back a little bit, Monica, what you just said about I struggled a lot because I always knew I wanted to go back to work. And, you know, I am the quote unquote breadwinner in our family. And Tim always wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. And I really kind of battled at the start of this guilt of, you know, because I went back to work after 2 months. So Ivy Girl was only 8 weeks old. And I was like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Am I going to regret this? You know, other moms, I had literally DMs from other moms being like, oh my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ. People need to fucking keep their thoughts to themselves.
Like, you know, those. And I had to go through a really big mental thing of, a mindset shift of, Georgia, you get to create your own reality. What do you want? What feels good for you? Because when I am in alignment, when I feel good, my family is going to thrive. I am going to be the best mom. And that is such a big mind shift. And I'm someone who, you know, I teach this stuff. I know all this stuff, but I had to process this. I had to journal it out. I had to be like, that does not make you a bad mom, Georgia, because if you're following, you know, these guided steps and you feel like this is the right step, and, you know, I was doing things very consciously of putting in boundaries, and, you know, if I'm not feeling guilty, that is where it's at. There's no point on me going to work, feeling guilt, having this cycle or anything like that. So the biggest thing at the start was, even like you said, giving myself permission and just going, you get to create your life. You get to be different. And I do come from a childhood where my dad was the breadwinner. He earned all the money. He had a lot of the control. And my mum, you know, I come from a family of 4 children. She stayed at home with her, and she's the most maternal and amazing mother. And so I had to battle. I had a lot of internal battles of, you know, this makes me a bad person because I want to go to work rather than looking after my child. Or, you know, will Ivy even remember me? And all these limiting beliefs. And, you know, I did come to a place where I was like, no, fuck that. I get to live a life that feels good to me, and that is only going to benefit my family. And I know growing up, still being conscious, still, you know, we've come to such a beautiful place where I feel so fulfilled. I feel so, you know, in my power, that when I'm at home with Ivy, I seriously am like the best mom to her, and I treasure the time. And then it works really good with my husband because he was like born to be a dad. And so we've worked out this routine, and it is so different. And I think a lot of people might look at our lives and just kind of just be a little bit shocked, you know, even though we're living in the 21st century, it's like they just might be a bit shocked. But something I constantly remind my community is your life doesn't have
make you
to
happy.
Look like other people. You get to and when it makes you happy and you're living in alignment and you're living your true power, like good shit happens. And that's actually something I'm sure we can get in a bit later, Monica, is I truly believe my trying to conceive journey was long because I had limiting beliefs around being a mum and what it meant for my career. And once I was actually aware and able to work through those, and I was like, no, fuck it. I get to be pregnant and be a mum, and my career gets to, you know, continue to evolve, continue to, you know, grow. And it's funny because when I got pregnant, I had one of the most successful financial years and growth years in regards to, you know, my following. I got like these brand deals where these brands literally came after me because I was pregnant.
Like battling
and just like so many
do you remember
things
battling
that
with
blew my
ditching
mind.
one of the brands because you were like, I don't know whether then that money won't come in, and I don't know what I said, but it was basically just like, if that doesn't feel right, you have to fucking trust it. And then you did it, and then 10 seconds later it was like your dream brand came in to be like, we want to, and you got paid more than what you did with the previous brand.
Yeah. And not only did they come in, but they were like, yeah, they wanted to pay me double, and they wanted to do like my own collection that I had full control over. And it was it was insane. And because for years, I reckon I had like, you know, blocked myself because I thought life had to be a certain way. And then, and then once I realized, no, I get to create my own life. I get to decide how it is. Things truly change and truly blossom. And again, that's what I'm currently processing and journaling and still working through, to be very transparent now, is what life means now as a working mum, because it is different. I do have less time than before, but I'm, you know, flipping the script and going, that doesn't mean that you won't have more success. That's actually, time is just a, you know, construct. Like, it doesn't mean anything. But I'm having to constantly work on those beliefs and like,
totally. I mean, I was even saying this to one of my clients the other day. She's newly pregnant, and like, she's like a Sag, and like, not to put ourselves in boxes, but like, as a Sag, I'm also one. We like really need freedom, and we really need like quote unquote selfish time. And her whole fear and like her whole rejection of the pregnancy was because like nausea is like the energetic reason behind nausea is rejection of pregnancy. And so when we were going into it, the whole rejection of pregnancy was that she was like, I don't want to be ruled by this baby. I feel like I'm already being ruled by the baby, and it's not even fucking here in the flesh yet. Like, I'm not even holding it. I'm like, I don't want to lose my life, and I still want to be able to travel and do amazing things. And it was rewriting the whole script of like, just because so-and-so in the fucking playground is a stay-at-home mom that doesn't do anything else besides that makes her happy maybe, does not mean that you have to do that. And so just like the sheer work around giving herself permission to be fucking selfish and to draw boundaries and to communicate with her fiance that like that they're having a fucking nanny and like a housekeeper so that she can go and get her nails done on a fucking Tuesday because that's going to make her a better mother. Like, just understanding that and embodying that, I think, is so huge for so many women. And also like men, like on the other side, like they also need permission to have them time, right? Like, being a father is like, it's different to being a mother, but it's still a stress for them. And I feel like there's just almost not that there's conversation about it, but I feel like almost in a way, sometimes the wrong way, because it's like, it's really about elevating you as a parent. It's not that you have to like, you know, it's not that you're trying to take you time. I'm like, this should be a non-negotiable of just like, we need to normalize that you get to do it all when you're a parent. And actually it's going to make your child better off, because even if you give your child 3 hours rather than 13 throughout the day, those 3 hours are going to have no resentment, no like annoyance. You're going to be fucking happy. The child's going to know that you're happy. Like, if you like, children know when you're happy or when you're resentful and when you want to go do something else with your time.
Yeah. Can I comment on that? Because we just had a really great example of this. So like I said, I grew up where mum and dad, very family orientated. Mum did everything. So no help from grandma, no help from nannies, did everything herself. And it was like, I get my drive from my mum because she's so driven. So she very much took children like her career, and she was going to do it all. So I resonate her in a completely different way. But we recently, so Ivy's 8 months old, and we had our first international family holiday book. So we went to Fiji, which is like good because it's like, when I go on holidays, I just want to relax. I don't want to do like sightseeing or like anything crazy. I want to sit by the pool and just like relax. And I was feeling like quite nervous going into it because so many people had put in my head, like I had the discussion with my older brother and he was like, oh, holidays with kids, like you don't actually get to relax. Like, it's for the memories, but you don't get to relax. And then, you know, even my parents were like, oh, you're going on holidays when she's only 8 months old. Like, she needs to nap all the time, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the whole probably 2 weeks before our holiday, I just kept putting like out into the universe. I kept journaling and I was like, this holiday is going to be relaxing. We are going to have the most amazing family time. Me and Tim are going to, you know, reconnect, because that's like another big thing with having a baby and your partner. You know, it's going to be amazing. So a couple of events happened, which they looked like blocks, but now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that all happened for a reason. So the first thing is we were actually meant to go on holidays with my brother, his wife, and 2 kids, and they got COVID literally the week before.
Right.
So they couldn't come because Fiji doesn't, you have to get tested, and it's a whole big thing. So they got COVID, so they weren't coming.
Totally,
and I truly believe it's probably because it would have been a bit more hectic with them there. Like, would have been lots of fun, but a little bit more hectic. And then even us trying to get on the plane, I had some issues with my vaccine. And anyway, long story short, we got there. So the room that we stayed in, because we stayed in a very nice 4-bedroom, because we were supposed to be with my brother.
Oh my fucking God. We need to all normalize that. Okay, that is the standard from now on. Your hotel room comes, Georgie, you have set this standard for me when I am a mom. The hotel room comes with a full-time fucking nanny. Yes, yes, yes.
A full-time nanny, Monica, and I had never even like thought about this on holidays. And so I kind of like so the first night we got there late in the afternoon, so we didn't like meet anyone. We took Ivy to dinner. She was tired, so she was like cracking it. We're in this like, we stayed at 5 Senses, so it's like beautiful. We're in this like restaurant. I felt so bad because like, you know, everyone's trying to relax. My baby's crying. So we ended up just getting like the food delivered to the room. We had to put her to bed. So we ate the food cold. And I just sat there and I was like, fuck, like, oh my God, this is like not, you know, this is everything that everyone tells you. So then the next day, the nanny introduces herself. I felt a bit weird at the start because I actually kind of remember growing up, going on holidays with mum and dad, and mum kind of being very judgy of parents who put their kids in kids clubs and then like go off and have a holiday. And then she's like, you know, that's so selfish. I remember her saying those words, that's so selfish. And then, you know, the nanny took Ivy, and it was really good because we had breakfast with her. She had some food, but then like she cracked it. And the nanny just came over and took her away, not took her away, but just down to the lounge. And me and Tim could sit and eat breakfast together and have a conversation. And then, you know, Ivy needs 2 naps a day, 2 naps per day for like, and she sleeps an hour and a half to 2 hours. So me and Tim would have just been sitting in the room doing nothing, whereas the nanny could stay with Ivy when she slept. Me and Tim went stand-up paddleboarding. We had lunch together. We had so much time. I got a massage, but then we would go back to the room, see Ivy, feed her, make sure she's okay, and then we'd go back out, and then the nanny would just help with everything. And I had the best trip.
I have goosebumps.
Me and Tim were so
love that for
connected.
you guys.
We felt so in love. We had so much Ivy time. Yes. And like, I did not know that was a thing. And it was funny because it was the second day, and Tim said to me, I'm starting to feel so guilty. Like, we're just palming our child off. And I was like, look, I'm feeling the exact same, but what's the alternative? And we had a big discussion about it. And then at the end, I love him. He goes, yeah, fuck that. We get to live our life however we want. We get to live our life however we want.
Yeah.
And like, this is good for us. And, you know, like, he had to go through his limiting beliefs. And just because, you know, it looks, you know, different to what other people do, it's okay. And I had to really be like, my life is allowed to look different. It mirrors what is best for us. And like, we had the most amazing trip. And like,
you guys,
everyone who I talk to just like can't believe it.
And like, people are always worried about traumatizing their child. So they're like, if they're super self-aware, they're trying to be like, all like trying to do everything perfectly. And I'm always like, no matter what you do, you are going to traumatize your child. Like, the child is going to have trauma because it's about their perception. And like, you know, there could be people listening that 100%. Think that Ivy's going to be traumatized from this experience. But for all we know, when she's 20 years old, she can be like, wait, I don't even fucking remember that. Like, what? And it's like, she wasn't fucking traumatized by it, right? Like, it's like, if you're trying to be perfect all the time at the expense of your happiness in your relationship, like Tim said, like, it's not fucking worth it.
Yeah. And that's even like, I remember growing up with mum and very much having, and I think this is why I then lived life how, you know, very opposite to what my mum did. Cause I felt like not that she regretted things because, you know, my mum was very smart. She got ducks of the college. She had this really great law job, and then she had kids and, you know, she couldn't do her career. And she, not that she brought it up a lot, but I almost felt guilty for stopping her. And so I think that's why I very much pushed against what my parents did, and I'm like the polar opposite is because I felt like, you know, my mom had these like weird regrets, and I almost felt like guilty for being her child, and, you know, these different things. And so that's like, I have to remind myself, like, yes, I had the best childhood and I love my parents and all that sort of thing, but it's like, I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want Ivy to see that. And then I want her to go, you know what, mum lived her life how, you know, she wanted and what felt good and what she thought was best. And I'm going to do the same. Yep. Whether that's different to me, great, amazing. Like, we're all humans. Like, we're all in these different experiences. But once you have that awareness, it just takes all the judgment away, and it makes things, easy and feel good. And I think a lot of stories around parenting is it has to be hard. It has to be hard and grueling, and you don't get to enjoy it. And I remember having a conversation with my brother who has, you know, 3 kids, and he's like,
what basically, conversation about it? I saw someone on Instagram last night. They asked a question of like, do you still want kids? And she responded basically saying no, because she's seen how it just ruins relationships and people lose their lives. And I was just like, why the fuck do you think that's needed on Instagram for all of these people that are pregnant, like all these women that are pregnant or they have a child, to have that energy coming into like their vibe? Like, if that's what you think, then great. But like, I have always thought the same. Like, I've always said very openly, even on the podcast, like as soon as I'm fucking pregnant, the hunt for a nanny is happening. Like, I have got no shame in having a full-time nanny and night nurse, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to run my business, and I want to be able to be a good wife and a good friend. And you cannot do it all without help. Like, you can do it all, but you cannot do it all at the same time. Like, you cannot be a good lover and sleep deprived at the exact same time. Like, it's not going to happen. So you need to like just be flexible with where you're willing to accept help.
And that's even something that me and Tim reflected on, because like I said, Ivy had colic in her newborn stage. It was really hard. And I remember looking around and thinking, everyone's a liar about this like newborn bubble, because it was honestly such a hard and difficult time for me. And me and Tim have reflected, and we're like, if next baby, because I definitely want to have more babies, if next baby is like similar to how our
fucking men, no shame.
Ivy,
like fuck losing sleep. Like, how is that helping you be a good mom?
That was fucked. And I just, And that's like, I talk to other mums because I got back into, you know, working out, because that's, you know, something I really do for my mental health. And I got back into it, you know, 8 weeks after Ivy was born. And Ivy started sleeping through when she was 12 weeks old, because I got a sleep consultant straight in. And so she started sleeping 12 hours a night as soon as she was 12 weeks old. And I talk to other mums who are like, oh, I want to work out. And like, their baby's still waking up twice a night. And I'm like, babe, if I was waking up, I would not be working out. Like, I need sleep. And I think that's why my recovery postpartum was quite good. Oh my God,
that's great, Georgie.
I was sleeping 12 hours a night, you know, the same as Ivy when she was 12 weeks old. But but I took steps. I was like, sleep consultant, nanny, let's do this. like, because I knew I had to show up for myself, and it's not normalized. Like, I remember even telling, you know, my friend, who she had a perfect newborn, but she's like, what do you mean you paid someone to tell you when to feed and when to put her to bed? And I'm like, yeah. And it worked a treat. And she now sleeps, you know, 12 hours instead of waking up 3 times a night. And she just like couldn't grasp it. But I was like, no, that's what I needed to do. And your baby might be different or not. But it's like, a lot of mums will suffer. And I spoke to a mum who got the same sleep consultant, but it wasn't until baby was 12 months old. And her baby was waking up 3 times a night until she was a year old. She got the sleep consultant and slept through. And she's like, I cannot believe I suffered through this because I thought it was normal, and it's because I thought that's what I had to do. And it's like, you always have a choice. You always get to decide. And like, even like this sleep
even if it was $1,000, Georgie, I'd fucking pay for that shit.
It's not like it was
I mean, it's about valuing yourself,
but
right?
I think a lot of moms feel like
it all comes down to, do you
Of course.
Yeah,
Of
it all comes
course.
down to
Yeah.
like, do you
But
value
mums
yourself
think
and the
they
fucking
have
health
to
of your
do it
child?
all.
Like, it's not helping your child to be waking up a million times throughout the night. It's just like people need to, like, we need to give ourselves permission to invest in ourselves because because you understand that investing in yourself is not throwing away money. It is literally a sign of how much you value yourself. And if you value your sleep, you will pay $1 million to make sure that you have good sleep for the health of yourself. And if you value your time, or if you value your relationship, like, you will do these things. I didn't even know you could hire a sleep consultant. That is going on the list. That will be purchase number 1 of when this happens. Yeah.
I will. I will give you mine, Monica, because she's like, oh my God, I can't even. Amazing. You need her.
Amazing. Like, why would anybody not do that?
We did everything over the phone.
I'm going to tell my friend this that's pregnant too, because she's like, fuck this whole, like, I have to lose my time shit. Like, that's not happening for me. I'm like, amen. Okay. Well, I'm obsessed with all that. So, hold on. Coming back to the relationship stuff. So what has changed in your relationship? And on the topic of normalization, what do we need to normalize and understand, and also decide differently about our relationship with having a newborn?
It's like at the start, it's quite difficult because, you're trying to figure out this new human. So you're both trying your best, and, there is, even if you have a nanny, even if you have a night nurse, there are going to be circumstances where you're, both flustered. You're trying to figure out why this baby's crying. You're just trying to make it okay. Just even the whole, the whole process of giving birth and everything, like, it's just such a wild time. And actually, I think me and Tim's experience.
I want to hear about it. Oh my God, please tell me about it. I'm obsessed with with birth. Like, it's just so amazing. It's so fucking primal, right? And it's like when you have really fucking primal sex and you just feel so connected. And I'm like, I can just imagine that birth would be 10 levels beyond primal sex. So I'm like, I might just black out and die from the intensity of that. Like,
honestly, Monica, so. Like, my birth was very long, and it kind of, didn't go to plan, but now looking back, it was perfect for us. But it was this whole experience where we went through like a lot of things, and then this happened, and then we had to figure it out, and then this happened. And I remember me and Tim, because Ivy had to go to the NICU because she had some breathing issues straight after. But no, sorry, actually, me and Tim, the first shower, so we got home, Ivy was asleep. The first shower after, like, getting home from the hospital, like, we had a shower together, and he said to me, and he's like, he had his hands around me and was hugging me, and he said to me, honestly, if we can go through that together, like, we can go through anything. Like, he just felt so connected and so bonded, and it's like, it's such a, and it's all like, if you let it be, because my birth, I wanted in a natural, calm birth, and my birth was not that. I, had to get an epidural. I was internally bleeding. There was lots of things happening, but we both were just like going with the flow. We, anything that happened, we didn't block it. And we're just like, okay, we're going with it. We're, going with the flow. And I think because we had such an open mind and we just went with it, like, it was an epic experience. Like, it was amazing. And I was, conscious. I could, like, feel everything. And he was there. He received Ivy and put her on my chest. And it just, I don't know, it very much feels like, if we can go through that together, we can go through everything. And he was so amazing. We were so connected. We did a lot of, like, birthing stuff beforehand. But yeah, he said that to me, and it was just so beautiful. And then, so after, it's just about, I guess, giving each other time and space to figure out this next chapter of yourselves, because you do. It's a death of myself. It's a death of him. And we're really good and respectful of our time. So, for example, if I've had a harder week at work, he's like, babe, this weekend, I want to play golf Saturday, Sunday, book yourself in for a massage. I'll take Ivy the whole day. You go to the beach, you journal. And so we're very kind of like even and fair, where even though he's at home with Ivy all week, like, that's his quote unquote job, and my job's at, work. But then on the weekend, it's not like he goes, well, I've had Ivy all week, so I'm going to fuck off. It's, he needs his time, he needs his golf, and I respect that. I'm like, amazing, you do. You need that to be a better person. I've never, anything he wants to do, I'm like, sure, amazing, babe. If I've also got something on, it's like, can we call the nanny? Can we talk to grandma? But then he's really good with facilitating. I'm doing this. Why don't Sunday you get a massage? Or why don't you do this? Because he knows my alone time.
Georgie, I get this.
Everything. And I love him. I love my daughter.
Even last night, I was like, he wanted to claim that it was his ideas for a boys' night. And I made it very clear to all the boys, it was my idea. I said, I need alone time. Like, I need alone time, like, in order to thrive. And, but also, like, just a second, that people forget sometimes, especially in like stressful times in their life, how letting your partner, and also doing the same for yourself, letting your partner do things that make them happy is going to make this situation that you're in less stressful, because he's going to come home being so much calmer, so much happier, so much more confident, showing up in a better way. And for you to go do you time, even if it's just literally driving around for an hour, blaring music in the car, you are going to come back home feeling so much better, because you've given yourself permission to just have some you time separate from like the man that you love. And I'm sure you love him to absolute pieces, but we all need time to just do us things.
And, there has been times where, like, just even the other weekend, Tim went out for like a boys' night, and that's like when we were going to Fiji, like the next morning, like early in the morning. And so I was like, can you be home at a reasonable time? We're traveling with baby for the first time. Long story short, he was not home at a reasonable time. And there, like, the initial reaction, oh my God.
Amen,
like,
babe. I totally get it.
I don't care that
Amen.
you're fucking out with the boys. I care about getting a child through customs. But I had to kind of sit back and just go, like, inside I was like, blood was boiling, but I just had to like sit back and be like, it's fine. I'm going to deal with this situation. Yeah. And then like in my head too, I'm like, it's fine, because the next time I want to have a girls' night, he's not going to be able to say anything to me. He needs this time. And it's like, it's all fine. And I think it's just about being respectful and not being spiteful, not being like, oh, well, he's fucked. I can't believe he's doing this, blah, blah, blah. And almost just like clocking it and just trying to be neutral. And a big thing I do is not tit for tat, but for example, if he does something, I will always plan something on the other day or during the week, just so I never feel resentful towards him. Because I know if because he's very, Tim, he's like so chill. He's so calm. He just does his thing. He doesn't need permission. He's not all in his head. So he's very like, I need to do this, and he'll go do it. Whereas me, I feel like a bit of guilt, and I'm like, oh, but Ivy and blah, blah, blah. But I always make sure to plan myself to do something if he's, doing something, just because I know resentment will start to creep in if it was left too long or anything like that. So I'm just being like proactive and just knowing what I need, rather than going, oh, but I should, I've just worked all week. I should, spend my whole weekend with Ivy. It's like, no, I worked all week. That's not me time.
Amen.
So of course I want to spend time with Ivy.
That, like, even I do that. Like, I know myself well enough to know that, like, especially in the city, like where I don't really know people, if he's going, like, he's got 2 boys' weekends in August, for example, and initially he's like, you could like stay here, like have a chill weekend, like go like make new friends. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. I'm going to New York. Like, I am not sitting around whilst you're having a boys' night, a boys' weekend, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get into my head. I'm going to want attention. I'm in a city that I don't really know. Like, I'm not going to find it fucking relaxing. I'm going to take myself to New York, and I'm going to go have 2 girls' weekends, because 1, I need them anyway. And then 2, like, we're both having fun, and we both get to come back after those weekends, share our great weekend together. And neither of us is going to feel guilty for like the other person having fun and us not, if that makes sense. Like, I'm very aware of that. And I know him well enough to know that, like, he will feel guilty. Even if I tell him not to, he will feel guilty if he's out having fun and I'm sitting at home in a city that I don't really know that well, like not doing very much. So it's like, I don't want him to feel that and then not have fun. So I'm also going to do something to ensure that he can then let go and have fun and X, Y, and Z.
Exactly. And it's all about being aware. And rather than being like, oh, well, I should want to do this or I should do this, it's like, you know yourself. Like, you should intuitively be able to, know how you will feel. And it's just about being proactive and like putting things in place. I spoke to a girlfriend recently who had a baby at a very similar time than me. And, she's going through some stuff in her relationship. And it's very much where, he goes and he does a lot of like boys' weekends and does that, and she doesn't. And I was like, you need to put things in place so you don't get to this point where you're like, breaking point and you're like so over him and so resentful. It's like, not that she's playing victim, but it's just like, you need to take control of your life and put things in place so you don't get to this point, because it's like, you need to do it. And she's got help from, her mom. Like, there is definitely avenues, and it does make things a bit more difficult, but just a huge thing for us is just being very proactive and just making sure, and like respectful.
Amen.
Like,
Amen.
we're very
That.
respectful. If
So
I've gone and planned
Georgie,
something,
what
I
do
will
you
very
feel like
much
would be your
encourage
top
him to go and
tips
plan
for
something.
women that, like, for when they're expecting, when they have their baby, or if they already have a child and they're a mom? Like, what would be the top tips for going through this transition phase and still running your own business? Like, share with us what you do now that like keeps you sane and keeps us all like keeps the ship running smoothly.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is like, I think the big thing is you need to decide how you want your life to look. So everyone can do this, even if, you're not having a baby, but, within your business, within everything, you need to decide what you want it to look like and then plan from there. So for me, for example, I knew I wanted to go back to work quite quickly. I knew I needed that to be my best self. And I'm so passionate about what I do. It really just makes me be my best self. And so it's also about like just in our routine, what we've set up is I need my alone time. I need to work out. I need to meditate and all that sort of thing to even get into work. So what we've done is I wake up, I go to gym before Ivy wakes up. I get home, she wakes up, we have cuddles. I make sure her and Tim are all good, and then I get ready to work. I go to work, and then I always make sure I'm home mid-afternoon, like 3:30, and then it's Tim's time where he goes to gym. He, I don't know what he does, goes to the shops, gets out of the house. I don't know what he does. Probably just like drives around, but like whatever. And then I get the afternoon with Ivy, and I do afternoon. We usually go for a walk to the beach together. We do the bedtime routine, and I always put her down, and that's like our special time. And then me and Tim both have dinner. Tim cooks dinner, and then we both have dinner together. And so we've really facilitated where, I get the morning for me. We both then work during the day, and then Tim gets the afternoon. For him, like I'm saying, it's all about creating fairness. But also a big thing that I wish I had done sooner is like, you need to fuck the guilt off. You need to decide. Because that's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help your husband or baby or partner. And so you need to decide, I've picked that I, want to do my business. I want to keep moving forward in that direction, and you have to own it. And you have to, like I said, like decide that you get to create your own reality, and just don't look at anyone else of what you should do. You get to create it. And that's just something I wish I had kind of implemented sooner. And it is about like, if you are running your business and then you're coming home and you're having to clean the house and then cook dinner, obviously chat to your partner about what you can kind of share. But it might just be, getting some help for 2 hours in the afternoon. So, they can kind of clean the house while you spend time with baby, and then you feel like, you're not doing it all, you're not burnt out. And it's like putting these little things in place so you can basically live your best life. It doesn't have to be this like dreaded thing where you're like, oh, I'm not going to have a life until they're, 10 years old. It actually gets to be amazing. You just have to plan things out a bit more. You have to put boundaries in place, and you just get to decide, like, have a bit of fun with it. And I think also realizing that the start, you don't know what you don't know. So just be very open-minded, have baby, see what, you like doing, see what feels good to you. You might decide I actually want to work from home.
I love that, Georgie.
Or,
Thank you so much. I feel like that was the perfect way to wrap this all up. This has been so
rather than
juicy and everything. Just so
way.
many nuggets. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's so lovely to see you. It's so lovely to see you. And I just can't believe that you're a mummy. It's so exciting.
Thank you so much.
Is there any last things that you would like to share with my audience? And then obviously, please share your Instagram handle so they all know where to find you.
Yeah, for sure. Not really. I feel like, we covered so much. I think it's just about, deciding what life you want and then putting things in place to live it, and just don't look at other people. Don't look at other mums. Like, you get to decide. And I really wish I had listened to my intuition a lot sooner. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Georgie Stevenson.
Thank you, Georgie, for being on. It's been such a pleasure being able to talk to you and share all your wisdom about this new journey that you're on. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Monica.
Well, I hope that you guys absolutely adored that episode with Georgie. Like I said at the beginning, please make sure that you tag both of us in your Instagram stories. Leave a review on the podcast if you haven't already. And make sure that you check out my mini one-on-one package if you are a mum, or if you're not a mum and you want some support in healing trauma, being more in your feminine, being able to let go, feeling more confident, getting rid of the constant worry of not being enough, whatever it is, if you need me. And make sure you just bring 1 or 2 things to the mini trauma package, the mini one-on-one package, and we will absolutely heal those things faster than you ever thought possible.